Hello and welcome back to the MLB DFS Slate Breakdown for Monday, August 28th. We are here, we are at the end of August, and we'll be breaking down today's slate once again. It is actually a pretty fun looking Monday slate. We do have 12 games, so a lot of picks to choose from and a lot of different ways to go. Now we have a few housekeeping things we need to get into before we go into the show, which for the show we will be going over yesterday's winning lineups, the perfect lineups associated with both DraftKings and FanDuel. Then we'll get into the pitching ownership, followed by some stacks and stacks to consider. Now, housekeeping stuff. First, 6 days, our price is going up. So if you are not already a customer, you need to join LineStar. $29.99 per month. And that rate will be locked in until, for at least 1 year, the new rate will be $39.99 as of September 4th. So get in now before that price goes up. If you're thinking about it, if you're on the fence, do it. Come join us. It's a great time. The chat is great. Community is great. It's also very, very informative in the chat. You can learn a lot just by paying attention to everybody in the chat. Just get better at DFS and whatnot. Secondly, just to kind of let you guys know now, and I will remind you on Tuesday and Wednesday, I am going to be out on Thursday and Friday, and then Tuesday of the following week. Before football starts, I am going to take a little vacation. I have a friend's wedding to go to, so I will be out. But we will be back with baseball once I do return, and I will be doing it every single day before I leave. We also will be jumping into NFL shows once I get back, as Showdown for the first slate would be the next day. So let's go. Let's have a good one. And now let's get into today's show. Sorry for a little bit of a longer intro than normal. Now, let's have some fun. All right, so perfect lineups. We will start with DraftKings as usual. All right, so Ty Block, who was amazing yesterday, just did great at 5,300. Pretty much 5x his salary is insane, and so him and Clevenger got it. Clevenger is a guy that we were picking on a lot for most of the year, and lately he's just been dealing. All right, then we have a little Cleveland stack, a little Astros stack, a little Rays stack to iron it all out. And the winning lineup, we got Whiteout 83. It was his fourth lineup, so he does have multiple lineups. I do not know. I did not check if it was 150 or not, but he was a multi-entry guy at least. He had Clevenger, he had Verlander, both who had great games. Nice little Cleveland stack, little Dodger stack, and then a Toronto one-off. So he had major ownership towards this Cleveland game as it put up 17 runs and just kind of got it done. The Dodgers had 7 runs. Mookie Betts once again had a huge game. And then Rojas had a nice little game for some value there to make him win. And he won by quite a large margin, almost 8 full points. So solid lineup. Congrats, Whiteout. You're a richer man or woman today than you were yesterday. All right, now for FanDuel, Clevenger got the nod in the perfect lineup. 3-man Cleveland stack, 2-man Rays, and then a Betts and Pena one-off. So used almost the full salary. $375 was the score. And the winning lineup, $365. Over 100 points lower. We had Rodon in the perfect lineup and a Houston and Chicago stack. Got it done, a 4-4. So we've seen multiple 4-4s win it, and when you have one team put up 17 and another put up 10, it does tend to happen that they get into that perfect lineup. So congrats to BG or Big Gresh Seth 13. I don't know how you pronounce that, but congrats to you. You won. You actually also took second. So you had a real nice day, even with the FanDuel contest getting smaller, as we only had a 15K to first and 9,900 entries. You were still able to take home 22K. So congrats to you. And actually very interesting, both lineups were 4-4 Cub and Astro stack with Rodon. So very, very similar lineups. Ownership wise, you were very contrarian and got it done. So congrats to you, sir. Now, let's get into today's stuff and get into some ownership. So big time 12 game slate. We do have the Coors game with Atlanta there. And seeing how Atlanta is pretty much an everyday play when they are in any stadium, you obviously have to consider them in Colorado. All right, ownership-wise, we got Gausman, 37% owned, 11.2K. Dude has been dealing all year, a little bit worse the last few games, but 3.19 FIP, 27% K rate versus that 2.79, 31% K rate. So his K rate has dropped a little bit lately, but dude has just been dealing, and I would expect that continue. We got a 24% combined K rate. He looks like he's in a great spot. I would not be surprised whatsoever if he's able to go 7 innings in this game, put up, 6 to 8 Ks, something like that, and limit runs. He is definitely one of the best pitchers in the league. My one worry is just that he doesn't get the Ks on this start for a couple reasons. So lately his K rate has been a little bit lower. The K rate of Washington, they don't strike out a ton, and that combined K rate is just a little bit lower. So all in all, I think Gausman's in a great spot. I don't mind playing him. LineStar obviously likes him. Even at his elevated salary, we still have it at 2.1x. So he's definitely interesting. He's just, high owned. However, out of the two highest owned guys, being Gausman and Woo is probably the one I'm going to fade, even though it is against Oakland. Hear me out. So he came off the IL, didn't have a rehab start, went 65 pitches. He is going to come back and start today. That pitch count is probably 75 to 80-ish range today. With that, I just don't love his upside. I don't like, I don't think he's going to throw, say, 6+ Ks. I already bet the under 6.5 Ks. I think for him to have a standout GPP winning performance, he's going to need to get into the 78K mark, and I just don't expect it to happen today. And I would be surprised if he goes 6 innings. Yes, he could, as he did against the Angels, 83 pitches, 6 innings. But still, that's only 18 points. He's 8K. I think it's going to be hard for him to truly be one of the optimal pitchers. Can it happen? Yes. The A's aren't very good, but I just think there's a lot of ways this can go wrong. And if everybody's going there, I just don't think I will. Next, Grayson Rodriguez. So by contrast, they're both similar prices. Grayson Rodriguez is slightly lower. I bet him over 5.5 Ks already, and I bet Woo under 5.5 Ks or 6.5 Ks. I think Rodriguez has much more upside in this situation. He has been pitching very good lately. 3.38 FIP over his last 5, 2.61 ERA. So maybe he's been getting slightly lucky, but regardless, guy has been pitching very well. This White Sox lineup isn't, that great. I think he's in a good spot, and I would not mind whatsoever going to Grayson Rodriguez. 22% combined K rate at his price is fine. We have him at 2.x value. I don't mind G-Rod whatsoever. All right, Blake Snell versus the Cardinals. So Cardinals striking out 22% left versus lefties. Snell has just been absolutely insane the whole season, and I would expect that to continue as he's playing for a new contract. This guy is going to get paid in the offseason. So 3.25 FIP on over the last 20 starts, 4.12 over his last 5. So he has been slightly worse, but his K rate has still been real solid, 33% and 32%. StatCast data looks good. BVP data looks really good. Combined K rate, 24.4, so pretty much what Gausman is, just slightly cheaper. And he is also 2.1x of which Gausman was the same, just at $400 more. So I think it's honestly pretty much a flip of the coin which of these two guys do better between Snell and Gausman. I would say that Gausman likely works a little deeper into the game, but Snell has the upside in the match. Ownership's, similar, but Snell is slightly less owned. Next, Kyle Harrison. All right, so LineStar is not liking him. He didn't have a great first outing as he only went 3.1 innings, but had 5 Ks, let up 2 runs. This guy is a major prospect, and I would expect him to do a little bit better versus the Cincinnati offense. 24% K rate versus lefties, not very good versus lefties, low WOBA, low ISO, pretty high combined K rate there. So I don't mind Harrison, and I think 6,500 is way too cheap for him, and I think our projection is probably a little bit low on him due to the K upside and just the level of prospect he is versus Cincinnati lineup that is just not good versus lefties. Maeda versus the Guardians. I almost said their old name. He's been pitching very good this season. Solid K rate. 25.6% combined K rate. I don't mind going here. The Guardians haven't been great versus righties. It's in a pitcher-friendly park. He's at home, and he's shown some real nice upside. So I absolutely think you could go here. Ovadio, I don't love him. LineStar doesn't mind it. I just don't think there's a ton of upside here. But he could prove me wrong. McGill, John Gray versus the Mets. Gray has been pitching a lot better lately. 2.83 FIP over his last 5. 23% K rate. Not too bad of a combined K rate here. And he's versus the Mets, who the Mets do hit righties hard. Their WOBA's not that hard, though, high, and they do strike out a little bit. So I do think there is some upside here with how Gray has been pitching in the short term. We got to bring up Andrew Abbott versus these Giants. So Giants do hit lefties decently on a WOBA standpoint, but they have very little power and strike out a decent amount. And on the year, Andrew Abbott, over his last 20 starts, 3.93 FIP, 27% K rate, got a nice combined K rate of 24.9. At no ownership, and in a very pitcher-friendly park, I really see Abbott as a nice little pivot here. Javier, I just can't get on that bus these days. We got to bring up good old Zach Gallen. Zach Gallen is the obvious, pay up pivot. Nobody is going here in a very tough matchup versus the Dodgers, but the guy has been pitching insane lately. 2.48 FIP, 29% K rate. He is worse on the road, so you do have to consider that. And I wouldn't bring it up if it wasn't 48% less fantasy points away, but it is significant. And, we have a decent amount of data now that is supporting that, so there might be something to it. But he has been very good against the Dodgers. So this is your pivot. LineStar doesn't love him, 1.6x for value-wise, but he is the guy that has the potential to, break the slate at pitcher being very low owned. Not sure how much I'm going to get to him, but he is the obvious pivot. All right, now let's get into FanDuel here. All right, so Gosman, 10.9K. Snell, 700 cheaper, 25% owned. Brian Wu, 13%. That's probably not where I'm going to be going. Grayson Rodriguez, I think, is very interesting. Kyle Harrison, super cheap, is very interesting. Gallen and Abbott both are kind of interesting just because nobody's going there, but I'm not a giant fan of either of them. I do think at the price, Abbott's probably a little bit more expensive than he should, and Snell should probably be a little bit more expensive than he is. I'm probably going to go Snell over Gosman in this, but I will have a little bit of both. I'll definitely have some G-Rod, and I will probably have some Kyle Harrison. And then also Maeda. I think 9K for Maeda is probably a little bit cheap when he's at home. And when he's on, has real nice upside that can absolutely compete with Gosman and Snell. So, let's get into some stacks now, shall we? Projections, view stacks. All right. Hope everyone had a good weekend here. I was pretty bummed to see FanDuel contest getting smaller this weekend, but it is that time of the year. Baseball is ending. People are shifting to football, college, and professional. All right, so 12-game slate. Our highest owned team, no surprise, the Atlanta Braves versus Austin Gomber. Look, Gomber is not a great pitcher. You got elevation. Now you got the Braves. It's a real tough spot for the Braves. One thing I absolutely need to bring up is how expensive these Braves are. You're talking about a 30K stack. The value is not that great. You know, people are going to be trying to slam in the Braves, and 5-man stacks are going to be very hard to make a balanced lineup with. Yes, their ceiling is going to be insane. I'm not saying to fade the Braves. I just don't know if I do a 5-man stack of them. I think that you could probably do a 2 or 3-man stack and, you know, try to nail, say, who's going to have like that spectacular game and get most of the runs for the Braves. And it gets you out of having to pay, you know, a stack that is that expensive. You're paying for 2, 3 of the guys instead of, you know, 5. Like 7K for Acuna is insane. Look, he is a spectacular player, but that's a pitcher price. You know, like the pricing on them is just insane. And I think it's going to limit you so much with what you can do. Now, there are pitchers, you know, that would make this work. You could go, say, Wu, Rodriguez, or Harrison, and one of those other guys, and you could create the salary with decent upside in your pitching. So there is a format to do it. Just know, if you take this 5-man Brave stack and 2 cheap pitchers, that's pretty much every 5-man Brave stack. So it is all going to be about your secondary stack and having that one be, you know, different than everybody. So I don't know how you're going to do it as far as getting different with the Braves. There's a lot of upside there. And they should be the highest owned and highest projected, but they're just so pricey. Padres are next versus Adam Wainwright. Makes a lot of sense. So Wainwright lately has been way worse at home, which hasn't been his thing for his whole career. He's always been way better at home, so I don't know what's going on there. But needless to say, Wainwright just has not been good this season. And makes a lot of sense to go to the Padres. Now, one thing with the Padres is I think they've just given up. Bob Melvin, their coach, this weekend had a quote that, like, there's no use to look at the standings anymore. So if the head of the snake is saying that, the rest of the team is likely pretty much given up as well. So that is my big worry with the Padres. Is all their fight gone? Nah, I don't think so. I think they're still going to have some games. They're going to try and end the season strong, but I think the team has pretty much given up. But they're going probably a little low owned for what their upside is on this slate versus that team and that bad of a bullpen. All right, so now let's get to the highest projected. And it's probably going to be all Braves here. All right, all Braves. Also, we got Houston. I think Houston's a very, very interesting one. Look, Chris Sale is good, but he can get hit from time to time. And when he does get hit, he gives up a lot of runs and he gives up hard hits. So you're talking extra base hits. Also, Houston's just been a good offense lately. It's been hitting very well. So I think it does make some sense to go to Houston with extremely low ownership. All right. Nobody else is popping up for projected here. So now let's go value-wise. Now, for all you Braves stackers, the value is going to be key. You got Guardians coming in 2.8x with Maeda. On the other side, look, Maeda can get a little squirrely, can get out of the game early, and then you're into the bullpen. I think the Royals are very interesting. They've been hitting decently over the last few weeks. Ovadio, he's not great. Mid-4 FIP. You can definitely get to him. Grayson Rodriguez has been very good lately. And now he has the White Sox. I don't love the White Sox, value stack, but it makes sense. Need to get cheap. So, Pittsburgh, I do like this value stack of Pittsburgh here. Greinke, he's at low 5s FIP. He's not going deep into games. The Royals bullpen now isn't very good. I think they make a lot of sense. Minnesota definitely makes some sense here. Now, Curry has been very good lately, 2.93 FIP over his last 5. But it can make some sense to go to this Minnesota offense. And this Minnesota offense has actually been pretty sneaky good. So at very low ownership, I think it does make some sense there. Ceiling. Seattle popping up. This was a little bit of a surprise to me here. So, as we know, this Oakland pitching is bad. I do think it is Mueller likely is either the long relief or starter today, and he's not very good. Their bullpen isn't very good. The Mariners have been hot. Makes a lot of sense to go to the Mariners. They're also not that high owned. Way cheaper than the Braves. So I think they do make a pretty interesting pick. You could go, say, Seattle and Braves, with a Braves 2 or 3 man stack and probably have a pretty solid lineup. In that case, you just probably are not allowed to put, say, J-Rod in the lineup. But Riley, Hernandez, Rojas, Crawford are all pretty solid options. France, there's a lot of different ways to go on Seattle, and they've been hitting very well. So that does make some sense here. Especially with Seattle's just lack of interest, even in a good spot. We haven't brought up Boston, but I think this Boston stack is very, very interesting. Javier hasn't been good, 6.53 FIP over his last 5. He's letting guys on base. He's letting hard contact. Boston has the second highest game total on the slate, and nobody's going there. It makes no sense to me. I think Boston makes a lot of sense. Let's bring up the teams so we can see the implied totals here to just go over anything else we missed. Big miss here was Colorado. Second highest implied total on the slate. They're going way, way lower owned. Got Elder, so an inexperienced pitcher who's done, low fours in FIP, so he's not like he's spectacular, and you have the elevation. Makes some sense to go to Colorado. Nobody's going to be there. Just covered Boston. Gotta like that one. Baltimore. Got Michael Kopech. Kopech gets shelled. 8.46 FIP over his last 5, 6.14 over his last 20. He is a solid pitcher when he's on, but he has been far from on lately. And you get into that bullpen. The bullpen's bad. Baltimore going low owned is a very, very intriguing spot. KC, Pitt, both, cheaper stacks. So nice little salary saver there. Padres make sense. We went over that. Mariners make sense. So with ownership, if the Braves ownership gets real insane, I'm probably going to be off them with their prices. I just think they're priced insane. I do see a very likelihood of only needing, say, 1, 2, or 3 Brave bats. And in that case, you could do a small stack of them and then a different main stack that is, much lower owned. And that might be the way to kind of get a little different, still have some exposure to Colorado, and maybe take down the slate that way with some solid pitching, since you're not going all in on that expensive Brave stack. All right, guys, that will do it for us today. I hope you all have a great day. Good luck today. Let's win some money, and see you back here tomorrow. Adios. Bye. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe too. Helps me out. Bye, guys.